If you keep calling this being behind, there's a good chance it's actually borrowed measurement. A lot of the pain comes from treating someone else's pace as neutral truth. So the problem may be less about your timing and more about whose ruler ended up in your hands. Most people read this feeling as evidence. You should have achieved more, chosen faster, healed sooner, earned more, partnered earlier. That reading makes sense because comparison is social glue. Your brain tracks status and belonging. It wants to know whether you still fit inside the group. So when you feel late, you may assume you lack discipline, confidence, or drive. Shame fills in the blank quickly. The trouble is that shame is a poor measuring tool. It compresses context. It ignores temperament, capacity, grief, caregiving load, money stress, and how hard your system works just to stay steady. Psychology gives a different frame. Social comparison theory, first named by Leon Festinger, suggests your mind evaluates itself through other people when objective standards feel unclear. That process is ordinary. It becomes painful when the comparison target is constant, idealized, and detached from your actual constraints. Elaine Aron's work on high-sensitivity processing adds another layer. More nuance, more input. You often move with more internal checking. That can look slow from the outside. In a very real way, it may be careful pacing in a system built to register more before acting. Then there's polyvagal theory, associated with Stephen Porges, and broader attachment system regulation research. Your nervous system tracks cues of safety, approval, and exclusion. If progress once felt tied to love, worth, or protection, falling behind won't register as a neutral delay. It can feel like danger to belonging. That is why the feeling is so sticky. The mind says everyone is ahead. The body hears you may be left. Once that loop starts, the default mode network can keep rehearsing identity stories about inadequacy. Hours pass in mental comparison, and very little actual decision-making happens. Another part of the pattern is borrowed urgency. Maybe praise came when you performed early, solved problems fast, or stayed easy to rely on. So you learned to move before you were ready. Later, when your pace becomes more honest, your body may read that honesty as failure. There's also interoception, your ability to notice internal signals clearly. If stress has trained you to override hunger, fatigue, dread, or fullness, you may keep measuring output while missing capacity. Then the gap between what you expect and what your system can sustain starts looking moral. And right, perfectionism quietly distorts time. When your standard for a worthy step is unusually high, ordinary progress feels invisible. You revise the email 12 times. You wait to apply until your portfolio feels airtight. Then someone else's messy but completed step becomes the proof that you're lagging. In career life, this shows up when a friend gets promoted and your whole week collapses inward. On paper, you may still be competent, employed, respected, but your mind narrows to one sentence: they moved, you didn't. It becomes hard to remember the private costs hidden inside visible milestones. In intimate relationships, feeling behind can attach itself to timelines, engagements, marriages, babies, houses. You see a photo, and suddenly your quiet partnership feels suspiciously incomplete, or your singleness starts reading like a verdict. The ache is real, even when the standard came from outside your actual values. Family can intensify it fast. Maybe one sibling is the obvious success story, or one cousin keeps being introduced with a list of achievements before dessert. You may leave those rooms feeling 12 years old again, with your body braced and your inner accounting system working overtime. Friendships carry it too. One person seems socially fluent, surrounded, always invited. Meanwhile, you reread old texts, count response times, and wonder whether adulthood sorted everyone into categories you somehow missed. The pain often lands as self-judgment, even when the deeper issue is a frightened belonging system. The reframe starts here. Feeling behind does not automatically mean you are off track. It may mean your measurement system got colonized by visibility, speed, and cultural timelines. Your feeling is real. Your first interpretation might not be. That small distinction can lower a surprising amount of shame. One practice for this week. When the thought appears, write the exact sentence down. I am behind in. Then add 2 lines. According to whom? Compared to what? Specific questions interrupt global shame. They force the mind to reveal the borrowed standard instead of presenting it as fact. A second practice lives in the body. Before checking social media, email, or someone else's milestone, pause for 3 slower exhales than inhales. Then ask, what is my actual capacity today? Capacity is a better ruler than panic. So is steadiness. Regulate first, interpret second, decide third. Over time, you notice that people who feel chronically behind are often carrying invisible math. They count years, income, relationship status, creative output, healing progress. They keep a private scoreboard running in the background. The sad part is how rarely that scoreboard includes recovery, integrity, or surviving hard seasons. You also start to see how often this pattern hides devotion. You may care deeply about doing life well, responsibly, beautifully. That depth can become self-punishing when it gets sorted through competitive culture. A thoughtful pace gets misread as hesitation. Discernment gets mistaken for a flaw. Some people learned early that being impressive brought relief to the room. A proud parent softened. A stressed household relaxed. A teacher paid attention. So progress became more than growth. It became regulation by performance. Years later, being average for a moment can feel far more threatening than it objectively is. There is often grief underneath. Grief for the years spent coping instead of building. Grief for energy lost to survival mode, caretaking. Financial instability, illness, heartbreak, or confusion. If you compare your timeline to someone who had different conditions, your self-assessment will come out distorted from the start. And then there's the online problem. You are often comparing your backstage to someone else's release schedule. Their announcement arrives after editing, curation, and strategic omission. Your brain still treats it like raw reality. So your ordinary Tuesday starts competing with somebody's highlighted quarter. I've noticed that many sensitive, high-functioning adults can describe everyone else's context in detail and erase their own in one sentence. You extend complexity outward, you compress it inward. So another person's delay becomes understandable, while yours becomes evidence of something lacking in your character. The gentler truth is that different systems ripen on different timelines. Some lives bloom through speed, others through depth, repair, and late coherence. If your early years were spent adapting reading rooms, overfunctioning, or staying safe, then slower visible progress may reflect hidden labor that mattered. This doesn't mean comparison disappears. It probably won't. The aim is a new relationship with it. Treat it as information before you treat it as identity. It may point toward longing, grief, value, fatigue, or unprocessed fear. Emotion is data, not always direction. A useful question here is very plain. What am I using this person to prove about me? That question cuts through a lot. Often the answer is old. I am running out of time. I missed my chance. Everyone can see I'm less adult than I look. Bring in evidence from your actual life. Not aspirational evidence. Real evidence. Bills paid. Hard conversations survived. Skills learned late. Boundaries kept. Rest chosen when your old pattern wanted performance. These things rarely look impressive online, but they mark genuine development. It also helps to build personal metrics before the next wave hits. Maybe your measures are steadier sleep, cleaner finances, kinder self-talk after mistakes, work that matches your values. Relationships where your body can soften. Those metrics create orientation. They protect you from every loud ruler passing by. So feeling behind may be less a verdict and more a signal flare. It tells you an old standard just got activated. It asks whose pace you're serving, whose approval still echoes, and whether your life is being read through visibility instead of fit. That question can change a lot. Take a breath, name the pattern, and I'll see you in the next one. Which one of these landed too close to home? Be specific.